Today we're checking out the K&N Series 63 AirCharger Cold Air Intake for the 2023 and newer Colorado and Canyon. If you want a true bolt-on performance upgrade that helps the truck breathe better and feel more responsive without needing a tune, this is the kind of intake that's going to check a lot of boxes, so it's definitely worth considering. This intake system is all about increasing your airflow and getting you measurable gains. You're looking at a listed gain of 17.5 horsepower at 3,800 RPMs and 24.5 pound-feet of torque, which is exactly the kind of thing that somebody wants when they're after a stronger acceleration and a better overall response from the truck. The round air filter in the outlet shape is going to help optimize airflow, and then the nice part is that you do not need to tune it when you put it on, which makes this a lot more appealing for someone who wants a real upgrade without turning the truck into a project and needing a custom tune afterwards. This system is going to use an oiled red cotton gauze filter, so instead of tossing disposable filters over and over, you can clean this one and keep reusing it, which is going to save you money in the long run. It also makes a solid long-term option for a daily driver and a truck that sees a lot of miles. When it comes to the construction on this, you're getting a solid black high-density cross-length polyurethane intake pipe, a red cotton gauze filter, and stainless steel regular clamps, and 4 couplers. That's going to give you a durable intake path so that it can stand up to that engine bay heat without wear over time, while the hardware helps keep everything stay locked down securely, and the stainless steel makes sure it's not going to rust. Now, when it comes to the pricing on this, you're looking at right in the upper $300 price range. For an intake that delivers real horsepower and torque gains, uses a reusable filter to save you money in the long run, and does not require a tune after you install it, that's a really strong value in my opinion for somebody who wants a performance mod that they can actually feel. When it comes to the install on this one, it's going to get rated just a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, and you can have this job done in 2 hours of your time. Now let's see exactly how this install process goes with a quick video from one of our AmericanTrucks customers.
All right, so for today on installing the K&N Cold Air Intake, I have 1/4 inch socket wrenches, a few extensions. You will need the long extension. There's a hose clamp that is near the turbo that you definitely need some reach. I have 7mm socket, a T20, an 8mm socket, 10mm socket. I was using some end wrenches, 10mm 9/16 for some various nuts and bolts. Then we have a 3mm Allen key, a 4mm Allen key. I used a adjustable end wrench or crescent wrench to hold on to the new adapter for the vent valve, some channel locks, and then a pick. We have a few harnesses to disconnect, so a pick's always nice. I had a fastener removal tool. We will have some some different clips and fasteners attached to the old filter housing. I used thread sealant for this vent. The vent right here for the bib. It doesn't say you need it, but I used a little dab. We have tin snips. I used that for the seal on the new intake box. And then we go ahead and if you have it, there's an engine cover. My 2026 did not come equipped, but there is a cover, and you will need an engine cover that sits right here. If you do have that, and I've been seeing it on the older models, but the newer ones, they took it out because apparently it's too much money. So you will need a T30, 3/8 socket wrench, extension, and that should about cover all the tools that at least I used and made this job easy. In this section of the video, we will cover the removal of your original intake. So here we have the filter housing, your intake tube. We will be removing your mass airflow sensor. We have one 10mm bolt back here in the corner. We have a body harness that will come off. It's just clipped in. Down here, we have another body clip that needs to be removed. And then there is a rubber grommet in the back and in the front. So there will only be one 10mm bolt to remove the box. Then we will need to take apart our vent tube, purge valve, which is located right here. And then we will need a long extension to get this 7mm hose clamp loose. So let's begin. I will start by removing the intake tube. We do have a 7mm bolt. We have your vent tube, which you just push on this spring clip and it will disconnect. We have two 10mm nut, one right here, one right here. I will be removing the purge valve completely. There is a 10mm bolt right behind this harness. And then I will continue by taking apart the lower hose clamp, which is located right there. So first things first, let's get your 7mm. Let's loosen up this hose clamp. Once that is loose, you have a vent tube. I already disconnected it, but you just squeeze the spring clip in the video before, and that will disconnect. Now we will take our 10mm, loosen up the two 10mm bolts, which I showed behind, one's here and one's here. All right, so now this is loose. Now I will continue by removing the purge valve. Again, the purge valve is here, and there is a 10mm that holds that on. Once you get your bolt out, go ahead and just pull that out. Sometimes they're a little bit stuck. You might have to twist a little bit, but mine came right out. And there it is. So now you just get that loose. And now the last step is that 7mm that's kind of buried down here. So that's the one that I will need. My long extension with a 7mm. All right, so now this whole intake tube should lift up, and you can kind of twist, and now dislodge that from the turbo, and there you go. So now your intake tube is disconnected. The next thing you want to go ahead and do is get this mass airflow sensor off right here. And that is going to be with a T20. So let me get my socket wrench out. T20. Alrighty, be careful with this. Actually, I'm going to take this out. So you can use your fingernail, release the red safety clip, pull it back a little bit, and now you want to squeeze that sensor and disconnect. Now we can safely pull out the mass airflow sensor. I recommend setting it aside. That is a sensitive sensor. So now we have our intake box itself. We do have the 10mm that is in the back corner right here. So now again, I'm going to just be using a standard 1/4" socket wrench, 10mm socket. And now we have our body harness. I'm using my fastener removal tool. Wedge that in between that plastic clip and the air box itself. And you should be able to just twist that off. And now let's go ahead and remove the other side of that harness. It might be a little tricky to see, but that is the clip that I showed earlier in the video. Just like that. And now the only thing to do is release the air box from the two rubber grommets. There is one in the back and there is one up towards the front. So let's go ahead and do that. Just like that, they both released. Oh, there is a clip. There is one clip on the box for the mass airflow sensor. So let's go ahead and use our fastener removal tool. Just like that. Now our harness is free from the airbox completely. You might have to manipulate and move some of these lines away. And with a little bit of twist and finesse, you are able to get the entire airbox out as one assembly. Set that aside. And now, as you can see, the entire air intake system, the box, the intake tube is disconnected. And now we are ready to install the new K&N air filter and intake. All right, so we're gonna get started with assembling of the actual housing itself. I went ahead and put in the seals that you got the strip with. So you will use your snips or any kind of, tin snips and cut these seals. It was a little difficult to see exactly how and where the seal was in the instructions. So if I have the airbox orientated like this, I installed the seal along the top perimeter all the way down here. And then I also put a piece here and a piece here. So you want to go through and just make sure that it is all the way pressed down. There is some metal tabs to kind of hold this seal in. This side, once you get this installed, you'll see this little cutout. There is going to be a harness there. I couldn't tell if they installed the seal on this little strip, but there is a big pin Molex connector that sits right here, so I don't think that this would hurt anything. But yes, again, it's going to be on the bottom side all the way across. I have a piece here and a piece along the top that comes all the way down here and wraps around. So let's move forward with the installation and kind of getting this box ready. We will be installing the adapter cone. So that will be going onto the airbox like so. So now you're going to have that protruded end coming out of the box like that. Your two pieces of hardware that we will be installing with this are going to be the 4mm Allen head, followed by a locking washer in the middle and your flat washer at the very end. Get these started by hand. It is a little cold out here today. All right. So if you don't have the 4mm key with the 3/8 adapter, no biggie. We can just keep it simple. Use a 4mm Allen key. So let's snug these up. Alrighty. The next thing we want to focus our attention on is here. We will be installing a piece of hardware that goes into the body. So that is actually the retention bracket. So for this, we are going to be using this collar. And if we come over to our old intake, you will notice you have this rubber grommet here. This insert will go inside of the rubber grommet. So go ahead and get that taken apart. Just pull it off and you'll end up with this, and this will eventually go inside to hold that air box secure. So what we're going to be using for this adapter is your hex head. In the middle, again, is going to be a lock washer, and so it goes hex head, lock washer, flat washer. So inside, install your hardware. Your collar is going to be on the outside toward the body. Let's go ahead and use your 10 mil. You can use your end wrench or the 10 millimeter socket that we had out already from the removal. You might want to grab a pair of pliers, hold the end, give that a final snug. The last piece that we have to install on this air box, this is where we are now. Seals, cone, one of the adapters, or the brackets. Now we need to do the lower, where this grommet goes into the wheel liner housing. So we will be needing this piece. And we also will be using our hex head. Hex head, locking washer, flat washer is the orientation. That's going to be on the bottom. So it's going to go just like that with the nipple down. Start it by hand. And let's go ahead and give that a snug. 10 mil end wrench. Or you can use your socket set, if I remembered where it was. There are two little tabs on the bottom of the nipple if you choose to hold it to make a secure connection. So in this case, I'm just going to use a adjustable wrench. Now everything is done. I have the lower bracket, the bracket on the side, the cone, and my upper and lower seals. In this part of the video, we will be installing some components on the air tube before it goes into the vehicle. So we will have our hose adapter, followed by 2 hose clamps. We will have another hose adapter that goes from the tube to the turbo. We will also have 2 hose clamps. We will have our mass airflow adapter and seal. And now we will have our vent hose adapter. The threads are tapered, but I am going to go ahead and use a little bit of thread sealant. The instructions do not call out so, but I will be putting a little bit on. And I used to work at a GM dealership. I just had some leftover, some AC Delco thread sealant. So I'm just going to put a little bit of that on. But again, not required. Alright, so now I got a little bit of thread sealant on my adapter. That will go here. These are plastic threads, so be mindful. It doesn't need to be ultra tight. We will be using the 9/16 end wrench. Give that a little snug. Next, we will be doing our mass airflow sensor. They do give you a seal. So let's go ahead and pull that plastic back to expose the adhesive. And now you'll notice that you do have 2 notches. Be mindful of the orientation of the seal. now with that together, you should have your slot where the mass airflow sensor goes. So we're going to do a test fit before I put everything together. So we have our mass airflow sensor. I'm going to install that onto our plate. And I'm going to install in the hole, making sure that our holes line up with the threads. And they do. So this is how it's going to look so far. The hardware being used to put on this mass airflow adapter plate, you're going to have your 4mm M6 bolt, followed by a washer. This does not require a lock washer. So let's go ahead. For now, I'm going to pull the mass airflow sensor back out. And let's get this plate seated. So it's going to be 2 bolts, 2 washers. And this is where I said, if you have one of these fancy gizmos, you can install this, or use this to install. For video sakes, I'll just stick with a 4mm Allen key. Get these snug. Now you can go ahead and reinstall your mass airflow sensor. You will be using the small bolt here that uses the 3mm Allen key. 2 of them. This is how you attach your mass airflow sensor to the intake. Again, not too tight. Alright, now you have your hose adapter. Orientate, I would suggest, orientate your hose clamps to be in an accessible position once the intake is installed. So now we can just go ahead and slide that over. And in this case, the tube is going to sit like this. I'm going to have these screw heads facing upward so they're easily accessible. We can go ahead and tighten up one side for now. We might need to readjust, but I can at least snug it up until it's all situated in the vehicle. This last port is going to be the purge valve. We'll worry about that when it's installed. On the other side, going down towards the turbo, is going to be another hose adapter. Put on your hose clamp first. Again, so be mindful, the orientation of the hose clamp. I'm probably going to want this on the right of the vehicle toward driver's side, facing upward. Again, we don't need to snug this yet, just have it so it's ready to go. Alright, so now there is your completed tube. Let's go ahead and get the actual airbox housing installed in the vehicle. You're going to want your grommet. Earlier in the video, we put in this coupler. Let's just go ahead, push that on. So now you're gonna have the grommet on that insert. When we get on a step stool, makes the process a little bit easier. So let's get this box installed. your harness, flop that back. This box is a little bit easier to install because this wing is pretty flexible. So I can just flex that back. Now it seats underneath the two lines. So you want to line up the tube that's right underneath my hand. Line that up with your inlet. Push down the back of the air box and you'll feel the detent. It will click down into the grommet in the back corner. So now your grommet in the front is seated inside this channel. The 10 mil nut will be installed here. And then your lower grommet that's in this corner will be seated. So let's grab our 10 mil, get that installed in the back corner. The new airbox does not use that original rubber and metal insert that you saw while removing. Get that all the way seated. Let's go ahead and get the air filter in. Looks like it came pre-oiled. I'm gonna get that orientation right again with the screw facing up so it's easy to access. And I forgot to mention, this is an 8mm bolt for all the hose clamps we will be installing from here on out. But you already got the socket set out, so. All right. So let's go ahead and just fasten that hose clamp. Make sure the hose clamp is evenly seated around the perimeter. And then you can go ahead and do your final pass. On the back of the box, you will notice that there are 2 holes in the back. That is going to be for this harness. So go ahead and find those holes for these little clips and get that seated. Just like that, nice and secure. For the lower clip that we took out on removal, I do not see a hole for that to be refastened. But with the clip back here, the harness doesn't seem to move too much and it should be okay without chafing. Let me just go over it one more time to make sure I'm not missing another hole. So if you want, you can, I guess, zip tie this lower portion of the harness if you choose so and you find that it's moving a little too much for your liking. But let's get going with the intake. All right, so now we have our new intake tube. Again, your vehicle might be a little bit different. The kit does come with 2 brackets that will basically have your engine cover work properly with the new intake. So let's get all of our hose clamps. Do one on this side. Let's tilt and get the other side of the tube down toward the turbo. With that roughly installed, now let's go ahead and put the other side closest to the air filter. So now I'm finding that my union is a little too far forward on the intake tube. So let me go ahead and get this loose. Now I'm able to move this tube where I need necessary. When you like the position and everything's seated, let's go ahead and fasten up your 2 hose clamps. I like that. Alrighty, so now you'll have your mass airflow connector. Let's get that plugged back in. You will have the clip that now doesn't go into anything. The harness is fairly taut. I don't think you'll have any problems with chafing and flopping around too much. You can install a zip tie on some harnesses around the area if you want it tidy. Let's connect your vent tube. This should just snap back in, just like that. And now over here, we have our purge valve. We can go ahead and put that 10mm back in, just so you guys can see a little bit closer. Here's that purge valve again. We can rotate that down a little bit, so now everything lines up, and we will be able to install. Just push it in, little twist, and now we are grounded. So now we can go ahead and put our 10mm back in using this guy. All right, now we're in the home stretch. So now I'm going to be using the long extension, 1/4" ratchet with an 8mm socket. Now I'll be working on the 2 lower hose clamps. Just give those a snug. When you're snugging up the hose clamp toward the closest to the turbo, just make sure this intake tube is fully seated against that turbo. All right. Now I always kind of like to move this around, make sure everything's secure. And it is.
That wraps up our review and install of the K&N Series 63 AirCharger Cold Air Intake for the 2023 and newer Colorado and Canyon. And for all things trucks, keep it right here at AmericanTrucks.com.